Yeah.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's messing with that twisted, like it's like you're living inside of a Tool album or something.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another Muddled Dice. Tonight we've got Adam and we've got Cory Davis back on the show, and we're going to talk about the remake of It. I guess we could call it It 2017. Before we start, how's everyone doing?
Pretty good. Thanks
Cool.
for having me back on.
Yeah, man. You, Adam?
Yeah, no complaints. Doing good.
Cool. All right, so I saw the movie. Cory, you saw the movie. Adam, you have
Yeah.
not, correct?
I've not seen it.
Okay.
Cool, but you saw the original, right? So
I've seen the original, yeah.
okay, so you know what we're talking about. You won't be totally lost.
Right.
So my quick broad stroke thoughts. I like the
Yeah.
new movie. I thought it was maybe a little bit less scary than the old one, but I liked it. What did you think, Cory?
Yeah, I felt like it was like a really high quality movie, but
Mhm.
it didn't like keep me up or like get under my skin. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But yeah, I guess I felt that it wasn't quite as scary, but I felt like it was still a strong sort of tribute to the original.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, in my notes, I have that about. I feel like it wasn't as scary because it feels like every moment of tension was really quickly diffused by like Richie making some wise ass remark, which which it made the movie really balanced and fun, but it also made it not as scary. It was like as soon as you're getting kind of scared, Richie says something hilarious and the whole theater laughs. You know?
Yeah,
So
oh, go ahead.
yeah, the new one is just at the part where they're as children, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So do you think that it'll be potentially like scarier as a series when they finish the second part?
Huh.
It could be like I did have some issue this time with like some of the kids acting like they would if they were adults in certain situations.
Yeah.
And so some of it wasn't as believable for me. So I think maybe you're right. The addition of the adults sort of revisiting this situation might be interesting.
That I didn't think of that. I think if they tone down the goofiness of the kids and the like constant like silly insults between them, I think that would go a long way to making the movie scarier as a whole.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it had that sort of feeling like, I mean, it was light in general, right? It was accessible. Like it was
Oh yeah.
something that people who aren't really into horror movies or who even maybe haven't seen the original maybe are going to be into as like a big blockbuster experience.
Right.
And that's really tough to do with horror in general. Like it's really rare that you actually see a movie pull off the types of ticket sales and reviews that it has this time around. So they think to pull back in some cases, which disappoints me, but maybe some other people out to the theater.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if it had been just a full bore, crazy, scary horror experience for 2.5 hours, it certainly might have turned some people off of it, I think.
Well, horror is an interesting genre from the point of view of trying to actually make it scary. Like it's very difficult to scare people when they know they're not in danger. Like I think that some of the best horror comes from sort of leaving things open to the imagination, and
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of that is lost on modern horror because it's very much about kind of the gore and the jump scare tactics, which I mean, they'll work to an extent, but it's not the same as that like really under your skin terror that you get, in a dark room by yourself, not knowing
Yeah.
what's hiding in the closet,
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah, I feel like some from like almost a subversive standpoint where it's like it's trying to fuck with you and it's not necessarily trying to be a healthy experience. It's really trying to get at you.
Right.
And this was not that type of movie. Like to me, this was
No.
a movie that if you have sort of these these childhood memories of being afraid of clowns and ghosts and things like that, it's sort of a fun revisiting of those feelings, but it's not coming at you to disturb you.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's a fun horror movie. It's not one that like sticks with you for days afterwards. I would say, it's not
So
it's not like the Antichrist or Last House on the Left.
No, no.
So, did you? Okay, couple questions.
Hmm?
So, did you
Yeah.
watch the original before you went and saw the new one?
I did not. So I watched it last night, but I
Yeah.
didn't watch it before.
But had you seen it like years ago when it was out?
When I was young.
Okay, so that's an interesting thing because like for me, I remember it being pretty scary, but I was also like very young. So for me it was a lot more like, terrifying than it would be probably for me to sit down and watch it today. So I wonder if like, had you seen the new It as a child, would it have been scarier?
Yeah, that's interesting because for me, like, definitely as a child, the whole idea of like things that you believe to be true are true is like is much more effective than when you're an adult and you're like, just because I think something, it might not necessarily be so. But it's also kind of funny when it first came out. Well, not when it first came out. A few years after it came out, when I was in school, there was this kind of like mystique about the movie at my elementary school, where it was like, oh, it's about this ghost that can only kill you if you believe in it and know about it, but if you can manage to forget about it, he won't kill you, which is kind of only like it's like a kid's misremembrance of the movie.
Yeah.
But so for me, there was that like, oh my god, there's this horrifying movie going around my elementary school, and when I finally saw it, it was really scary for me because it had that.
So
like,
it was like this phenomenon, like
Yeah.
it was bigger than what the movie actually was because people were talking about it, and
Yeah.
because you were the right age group. I was the same way. Like I remember, seeing people in clown like that and
Yeah.
being really freaked out. There was the poltergeist clown that was also creepy from
Oh,
around
yeah.
the same time period.
Yeah.
And yeah, it sort of had this feeling of like the type of story that like Slender Man is now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Where like kids on the playground might be like, don't look at him.
Yep.
So
And they create monsters.
this is an interesting little topic here. I actually listen to a lot of like paranormal podcasts and those kinds of things. So I just want to bring up for a moment, this idea is actually known in like actual sort of like real life, if you want to believe in it or not, is irrelevant. But this idea of what's called like a tulpa, which is basically like a thought form, taking something that
yeah.
you think about and having it become a reality, which is one of the ideas of the Slender Man as well in modern times, and it itself is in a way using that same kind of process. So it's an interesting topic, like because I guess you can kind of build that foundation on like the real myth versus the story to kind of
Yeah.
generate these, and then it makes it even scarier because it's that whole psychological, using your own mind against you to kind of like, if you can imagine that might be real, and then you go and you watch like a movie like It,
Yeah.
and then you're like, it adds that like believability to it that gives you that little extra edge of fear. Whereas if it's something like, I'm not going to ever be afraid of King Kong because I've never seen, a 3-story high ape.
Right.
But I can imagine the possibility that like, the human mind has this capability to, create this horrible thought form or something, so if you can make that leap when you're generating some kind of horror story to link it to, I guess, some sort of realism, I think that really gives you an edge in generating that fear in people.
Yeah. The thing is, I think a lot of kids that were afraid of the movie didn't even get to see it.
Right.
It's like their older brother or sister had seen it, or they had heard from somebody about it, or they'd seen some part of it that when they weren't supposed to watch it. And so that whole thing, I think, really made it like scary for a lot of people. It was like something they could hardly get their hands on, but the legend of it kept building.
Right,
Yeah.
that anticipation building, the fear. It's really interesting, how the mind works in that way, because there's instances where people will actually go and they'll set people in a dark room and just let their mind wander, and you generate these ideas of like, well, what's over there? The fear of the unknown is super powerful in human beings. And
yeah.
A couple other movies you want to talk about?
Yeah, there was a couple other movies that sort of went beyond the actual viewing experience for me as I was growing up a little bit later. One was the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah.
That one like sort of hit just at the right time when I was in high school. The internet wasn't as like progressed as it is now, where you could like just find out the truth of some legend like right away.
Right.
Legend. And so like there was some like debate about whether or not it was a real thing before I went and saw the movie and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I totally remember that.
And
go on.
Yeah. And so that one really freaked me out, and like I had a lot of fun with that movie and like taking my friends to see it and trying to scare them and stuff like that. The Ring too. Like The Ring, it was funny. I was in Lubbock, Texas, going to Texas Tech at the time when it came out, and there was no theater showing it up there, and some old theater opened up just to show that movie. And so this old
That's awesome.
rundown, this old rundown play. And, I went there with my wife, and we were pretty scared. It was like a really creepy place to see that movie. And when we got home, the phone rang, like when the lights were still off in the apartment. And I remember that moment, like, my wife definitely didn't sleep that night, and I'm not sure if I did either.
Yeah,
That's
that
awesome.
was interesting, because a similar thing happened to me. I was watching the movie, and so like right in the part where you watch the movie, like, and it shows that little video sequence where like if you watch it, you get a call and it tells you. But so like right after that happened in the movie, the phone rang, and I was like, "Don't answer it."
Yeah, seriously.
That's awesome. Nice.
That's funny. That's something that you'd never experience today, because nobody has a home phone anymore.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'd have to send you a Facebook message or something.
Yeah, it'd be like when you're watching that, like, something like that, Unfriended or whatever, and get a Facebook notification in the middle of it or whatever. I don't know. I haven't seen that. I assume it's about Facebook or something, but
yeah, I haven't seen that. As like a Facebook murder.
I think so. Something. Show. Yeah, that I was actually kind of surprised that Goat Film Podcast actually recommended it as a well-written horror movie. So
cool.
I'm gonna have to check it out. Just from like the title, it sounded kind of dumb, but you never know.
Like gimmicky.
Yeah.
But who knows? You never know.
Yeah. So going back to the It remake, I thought it was kind of interesting that some characters seemed better developed in this one than they were in the original. Like, I liked that we found out more about like Mike's background and Henry Bauer's like background and motivations, which kind of like takes me to the point of like, I feel like they're different movies, but one's maybe not better than the other. I like that they're both different takes on the same source material, I guess, is the point I'm trying to make. Yeah.
This one it did have some like leaning towards the book and not the movie at times. It was sort of a mixture. Like the book definitely has like some more in like extreme experiences in it, and some like really strange and psychedelic stuff in it. And the movie had a little bit of that, but I think the book goes a lot further.
Well, yeah.
And then the characters that you're mentioning, I think that they went deeper this time, and that probably will help out the sequel.
Yeah. What did you think of Skarsgård's Pennywise versus Tim Curry? I
thought it was I always have a problem when they show the monster too much. And I thought for the amount of screen time he got, he did amazing. Like it's really tough to be scary when you're fully lit,
right?
On screen
and in like almost every scene. Yeah,
and but he does have this like sort of off-putting, creepy, at the same time alluring thing going on that he's doing that was really working. And so I thought probably about as good as it could have been, but they could have shown him less.
Yeah, yeah. I think like I rewatched the old one, and Tim Curry's Pennywise I feel had like he was kind of like an old school hobo clown. Like you could see him like chomping down on a cigar, and like he had that like deep gruff voice. And like the thing that keep coming to my mind with Skarsgård's Pennywise was Mickey Mouse.
Okay.
He just reminded me of like a kid's Mickey Mouse clown.
Twisted Mickey.
Yeah, and that like kind of like high pitched giggly laugh that like Tim Curry didn't have that giggly laugh.
That's true.
He kind of had like a smoker's laugh.
Tim Curry's was like much more of like a scary, like drunkard adult clown that you don't want touching your kids, and the new one was it was a little bit more playful.
Yeah, which in some ways it's hard to tell which is more menacing, because like Tim Curry you could kind of see like, okay, there's something kind of weird about this guy. You know, probably don't want to be around him, but like Skarsgård is just like, he seems like a friendly clown, and he kind of reminds me of Mickey Mouse, but then like, but then he's gonna, eat me or like rip my arm off.
Yeah, that sort of cute thing that he was playing with was working in some parts for sure. Like,
yeah.
That's a different tone that wasn't in the original.
And the for some reason, like the way the eyes went in different directions, it kind of gave him almost like a childish kind of thing. A lot of times he seemed like he might not even be evil. He's just like like a child who doesn't know what he's doing and just is doing what he does to survive.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I like that. I thought that really worked. That childish side of him, like, made him seem, he's like, hey, I'm just one of you kids.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
and that's really creepy.
The other approach is interesting from the aspect of like them being children and not recognizing evil. So it's more like as an adult looking at it, you could be like, well, there's clearly something wrong with this guy. Like you said, you wouldn't want your kids near him. But like the kids, they're innocent. They don't realize that. So like having that in there kind of, I guess, points out the fact that they are children and that they're looking at the world a little differently than we would see it.
That's true.
Yeah, that's interesting.
You know, I heard like a creepy true crime story this week about Albert Fish.
Oh God.
Who was this old man who to murder them and ate them. But his people look at him and be like, he's sort of a creepy old man.
Hang on, can you repeat that? You were cutting out.
Yeah, sorry. People his age or adults would be creeped out by him. But kids were always like, oh, he's like grandpa. Like, he's adorable. Like, so he would lure the kids in really easily with just like some raisins or some candy or something like that. It was reminding me of this story.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see. But you said like the adults and you like, there's something wrong with this dude.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's it. That's creepy. It's interesting how just children are just so naive. They can't really realize that. And then you know, these creepy people, they find weird places to hide. Like one of the Iceman serial killer. So he was also working with another serial killer at some point in time, who would drive around in an ice cream truck. And he would do that because he could go through the neighborhoods and like stalk his victims. He was like a hitman, so he would go sit outside their house in an ice cream truck, So meanwhile, he's giving kids ice cream, but he's planning to, kill some guy and chop him up in a basement somewhere. So,
wow.
It's that whole like evil lurks where you least expect it kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And that's why this movie worked and the story worked to begin with, right? Is that mystery of who's in our neighborhoods and what could get us.
Yeah. Okay, well, I mean, I don't have anything else to say about the movie. I'm looking forward to the next one. I did think it was funny how both times I went to see the movie, apparently it was people who didn't know about the first one, because like
Really?
when the ending came up and it said it chapter 1, there were a lot of people who were like, oh my god, there's gonna be more, and it's like, well, yeah. There's a whole second part.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Do you know when that comes out at all?
I think it said 2018 sometime,
Okay.
which I mean is just a few months, but I don't know when. There was one girl behind me though at the second scene, or the second when I saw it for the second time. Chapter 1 came up and she goes, "Nope, not seeing chapter 2. Nope." I think her friends had gotten her there on the pretext that it wasn't that scary, and
Okay.
she was screaming at every jump scare. She was
Oh,
terrified.
So I was wondering how you'd compare the new It to like Stranger Things.
It seems less well, like to me Stranger Things kind of has like a sci-fi, definitely has a sci-fi feel to it. Like
Yeah.
it reminds me a
Yeah.
lot of like Altered States and that
Uh-huh.
kind of movie. But the whole thing with like, I guess you're talking about maybe like with like the kid-centered movie where
Yeah. That whole like Goonies vibe and
yeah.
you know, Stranger Things did it. There was Super 8
Yep.
also like really had that feel, and I felt like it like was just walking down the same path.
Yeah, I would agree. And I don't really think that's a bad thing. I like if
No.
the kids are good in the movie and enjoyable to watch, I like it. Like I thought the kids
Yeah.
in this movie were great. They were funny. They felt like they were actual friends, you know. And just like in Super 8 and in Stranger Things.
Yeah. And it like sort of embraces this like 80s feel somehow. Like it's
Yeah.
like the feeling of those movies like Goonies and stuff like that. Like
Yeah. Well, I
it's,
was
go ahead.
So I'm curious, like, I guess if you go back in time to like that 80s feel, like it almost adds something today because there's this constant connection through technology today. Whereas in the 80s, it's like, you know, you've got the kids riding down the street on their bike.
Yep.
They don't have that constant access to like, you know, connection to everyone else. So it's almost like two things, because it's an unknown to like modern kids. They just don't understand that.
Yeah.
And two, it kind of brings you back to that like sort of sense of isolation. Like you can't imagine, you know, being in that situation because you're never in it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, could you imagine nowadays, like, some kid hopping on his bike and with like no cell phone to contact his mom or anything, and just like, I'm gonna go play in the woods. I'll see you in 6 hours. Like,
which seemed so normal, like back
Yeah.
when you would do it.
yeah.
Oh,
Even
yeah.
like for me, when I was a kid in the '90s, that was just normal. Like
It's like
I'd
you
get
just
on my
come
bike
back
in the
when it
morning.
gets dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the best.
Yep.
It was amazing.
Which did kind of
But-
though. Oh no, go on.
Well, it's just like, but now, like, you know,
Yeah.
imagine your kids going and doing that. You would be like terrified. You'd be like, no, don't do that.
Right.
Well, people call the cops even if they see
Yeah.
kids without that are like even 12 years old and stuff like that. It's
Yeah.
things are different these days
Yeah.
for sure.
It did kind of get me thinking though, watching like so many scenes of the kids riding their bikes in the movie. Like, there should be like an anthology just of like movies that are centered around kids riding their bikes. So you'd have like, you know, you'd have It, like Super 8, like Stand By Me, Goonies, E.T., you know.
Yeah, there you go. All good movies, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I miss a lot of those. Like, sometimes you only get one movie every 5 years or so that's got that feel.
Yeah, which is why I loved Super 8 so much, because for me it took me back to the, like, it was like Goonies with an alien, it felt like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like there's something about like the character drama with the kids that's like really rare. Like
Yeah.
most of the time we just see like over the top superhero or like fantasy type stuff, which can be really cool, but it doesn't like bring out the like believable side of growing up in today's world. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think there's a healthy
Yeah.
dose of nostalgia too. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I remember being a little shithead with my friends, you know, and like calling them names and pushing each other and, you know, stuff like that. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, I like-
excited for the new Stranger Things season 2 coming out.
oh, yeah, that's this month, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I'm super excited for that too.
Yeah, that should be good. Hopefully they get all the freedom they want because they did great
Yeah.
last season.
I
Yeah.
heard some people saying that they really didn't think that it needed a season 2, but I mean, I disagree. I feel like there's so much left to explore still.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I mean, it kind of wrapped up, but they definitely left it open
And it,
Yeah.
for season 2.
it wasn't losing steam at all to me. Like
Mm.
it left me hanging. So
Yeah.
Right.
that's awesome. So hey, did you guys see? Just a couple things I was wondering. Like since we're
Yeah.
coming up to Halloween, I wanted to talk about like a couple of horror things that maybe
Yeah.
you've seen or not. Uh,
Uh-oh.
I lost you there.
Corey's dropped out.
did you guys see? Did you guys see Taboo?
No.
No.
Taboo. So that was a TV show that came out this year, and that's all I'm going to tell you about it. Go check it out. It's really good.
Okay.
It's really, really, really high quality. Sort of in the Lovecraftian sort
Okay.
of feel,
I'm
but
so
Alright.
long.
it's really good.
Yeah. Is that like network TV or on Netflix?
It was I watched it on streaming. It was
It looks
FX,
like,
FX or something, I think.
Yeah, FX and BBC One it says here, so
Yeah.
you could probably get that through. I think Hulu does FX too, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's where I saw it. Yeah.
All right. Cool.
And
I'll look for that.
It's not like just pure horror. It's got like some action and even some like drama
Mhm.
in it, but it's got this like element of supernatural that's running through it. And when the main character sort of goes into these like sort of psychotic breaks, it's just really creepy and really good. So
Nice.
I would
All right.
check that out. And then the next one, I was wondering if you. I'm just going through some TV here. Legion. Did you see Legion this year?
No, I haven't.
You didn't.
I know
So
there was a movie.
Sounds
Legion, but
familiar.
there-
so it's actually a Marvel thing, which is crazy
Oh.
because it's really dark and it's really psychedelic. And I thought it was exceptional.
Yeah.
It's called Legion, and it's by the writer of the Fargo TV series.
Oh,
Oh, okay, that was good.
yeah.
Yeah, which has some of that psychological horror in it as well.
Yep. All
But
right. Cool.
very very well written.
Cool.
Okay,
I
I'll have
look
to
for
check
that one
that
too.
out.
So yeah, so those are just a few. I every time I talk to people, they didn't see those because there was so many good TV series this year. It seems like there's a few that are just falling off a little bit. So I'm telling everybody.
Yeah, it's hard to stay up with everything now. I mean,
It is.
there's a surprising amount of good TV out there nowadays.
Yeah. Did you guys see Black Mirror?
I'm
I've
not
seen
caught
some of
up to
them.
the latest season, but I'm like halfway through the latest season, I think.
I
Yeah.
think I watched
Yeah.
the first three or four episodes of what is it? Season 3 is the new one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I watched those ones. I've skipped over season 2 mostly, but season 1 I really enjoyed.
Yeah, it's a little bit hit or miss actually. Like
Yeah.
it's got some like classic episodes, I think, but it's got some where they seem to be just like rehashing the same sort of horror idea so
Yeah.
hard that by the end of the episode you're like, I've had enough.
Yeah, some of them I don't like as much, particularly the ones that are like clear, super obvious, like social commentary. It's just like, yeah, I get it, I get it, but
Yeah.
give me something more than that. I like the sci-fi aspect a lot more than the social commentary aspect.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool.
It's definitely one I feel like it's either they either knock it out of the park, or it's just kind of like, but like
Yeah.
the one Welcome to White Bear, or it's just White Bear, I think.
Uh-huh.
I like that one a lot. And then the other one, I want to say it's called I'll Be Home for Dinner, or like I'll Be Home Later or something, where the woman's husband dies in the car accident and she gets like a robot that looks exactly like him.
Spoiler
yeah.
alert.
Yeah. Oh no, that's all in the beginning, but like that one
That
is
was creepy.
really good. That one is really
Yeah.
good. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was creepy.
yeah.
That's awesome. So I'm not sure how much time you have.
Huh?
Did you guys see the new Twin Peaks?
No, I haven't. My sister's watching
I
it actually,
haven't.
and she really likes it.
You have you Adam? You said or
No, I haven't seen
Yeah.
it.
Okay, yeah, that was way more horror than I expected.
Really?
Yeah, like the original, I think had more of this feeling of like this girl that's been missing and that's turned up in this small town and stuff like that. And this one was almost like it was more extreme, so more psychedelic, more like creepy stuff going on, and people sort of in alternate realities.
Oh,
Ooh,
okay.
I have
So
to check that out then.
it was
Yeah.
yeah, and there. Don't get me wrong. There's episodes where you'll be like, I can't believe David Lynch got away with just showing two people stare at something for like 5 straight minutes. Um, but then there's other episodes where you're like, wow, like the experience is like extremely high quality, like really good and really creepy.
Awesome. I'm gonna have to dig into that one too then.
Great. Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, that's all I got. I thought I'd throw out a few suggestions.
Yeah, cool. So I decided to, since we were like talking about remakes, I watched do you guys remember 13 Ghosts, that movie that came out in
Yeah.
like 2001?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
watched that again, and I watched the original 1960 13 Ghosts. And I was actually really surprised how faithful the new one is to like the main idea of the original.
So,
Yeah.
which one did you like better though?
I liked, I mean, the 2001 one is like quote unquote scarier, just because like the better special effects
Right.
for the ghosts, and it's got the whole like, it's got a little more like gore and stuff in it. But I don't know, the 1961 kind of has this like, it's kind of got like a weird like 1960s nostalgia feel to it, of like that
Right.
old black and white ghost movie with like the like double
Creepy
exposure
vibe.
ghosts and stuff. Yeah, and
Oh,
like,
yeah.
the characters feel a little more likable, even though they're not really unlikable in the new one. But like I was surprised how similar it is. It's just like in both of them, this old guy dies and leaves a house to his nephew, and then like the family moves in, and he's collecting ghosts in the basement for some reason. And there's
now
a
that you say
lawyer,
that,
and like
it seems like a very like 1960s kind of idea.
yeah. Well, it's
Yeah.
funny too, because like in the 60s, like in the new one, he's collecting ghosts to power this machine so he can see the future. Like, okay, that's a good like horror movie, occultist kind of like premise. And the
Right.
1960s one, like he was a big game hunter, so he decided to start collecting ghosts in addition to
Oh, so it was like
clients.
a zoo type thing.
I guess, yeah, but they just kind of roamed the house freely. It was really
And
weird.
then- Did
Yeah.
they do the whole glasses thing? Like, what? How did that
They
work?
did, yeah.
What-
And they-
okay, so it was just based on like special lenses or something.
Yeah, and they had these like huge crystals on these like gigantic
Okay.
glasses powered by giant batteries.
That's funny.
There's a funny scene actually where like a fly lands on one of the glasses and like explodes from the
Oh,
the
wow.
energy, I guess. But
That's cool.
yeah, so I thought but the thing I thought was cool about the remake was it's not a shot for shot remake. It's like its own take on the story and the characters. And because to me, shot for shot remakes they feel unnecessary. Like
Right.
like when they redid
Yeah.
Psycho, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, that's great, but I've already seen it.
Yeah, you want to reboot, not a remake.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Yeah. So that was all I got to see. Adam,
I don't remember
go on.
the 13 Ghosts. Is that the one? They have like a Clockwork Mansion with like
Yeah.
like
Everything's
really
kind of shifting.
strange mechanical place.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like all of the walls are glass for some reason. They didn't really
Yeah.
explain that.
Yeah.
But-
I guess
It was-
it contains the ghosts.
Yeah.
Yeah, well the thing like they
Okay.
explained that like the runes written on the glass contain the ghost, I think. But they
Hmm,
never explained like why it had to be glass and not just like
I don't know. Maybe
wood
it's
paneling.
just modern design. They want open concept, keep their property value high.
well and then
Um,
they if it wasn't all glass they couldn't have done that amazing scene where the lawyer is standing between two doors and gets sliced in half
Oh yeah,
horizontally and then slides off the glass.
that's
Which
They
why
is
did
they did it.
something
it's
like
so
that.
awful. It's hilarious.
They did something like that in another movie, but they did it with a horse, where this horse gets like all these glass
Oh man,
panes come down and slice it into segments, and then they separate, and you can see all the internal like organs of the horse still going.
Hmm.
That's a pretty interesting movie. I don't remember the name of it,
yeah.
but
What was that? That sounds
so
familiar.
the concept is that this lady has to go into this like serial killer's mind, like she has to kind of like through technology do this like, mind.
The Cell.
Oh, is it the
I-
cell?
The Cell with Jennifer Lopez.
Maybe
I think it was like one of yeah.
it was somebody
That
big name.
I remember
Yeah.
that movie.
Horse gets
Yeah.
split into pieces from the cell
Yep.
on YouTube.
Oh man, I loved that movie when I was a kid.
It's a good movie. I really like the visuals in that movie.
That was
Yeah.
a weird movie.
yeah, that was the movie that got me into like super formalistic imagery in movies. So from that, you know,
okay.
like that, and then like The Fall, and then older things, you know, like I can't think of anything right now offhand, but yeah, I mean, you know what I'm talking about.
It was striking.
Yeah, yeah.
The movie The Fog was a good one where like they did a remake of it, but I actually liked the older one better. I actually thought the older one was scarier than the new one. I don't know why. The ghosts were scarier. It was just not that The Fog was a terrifying movie, but it just they did like a little bit better job of making it feel menacing in the old version, I felt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The old one had this like charm to it with like the old sailor telling the kid the story and everything. I really like that. And it's the fact that it was like it was some sort of a statement about how you treat, you know, people, like with the fact that it was like a leper colony that they let die and everything.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I feel like it's hard to top a John Carpenter movie. I mean,
Yeah.
even like with Halloween, like, I mean, I love Rob Zombie like as a musician, but I don't think his version of Halloween is as good as John Carpenter's.
No, that Carpenter's is classic.
Yeah.
I mean, the soundtrack alone
Right.
changed everything.
Yep. All right, Adam, do you have any other any movies you want to talk about?
I mean, I think we covered a lot of bases. You know, when it comes to horror in general, I don't know what's everybody's like scariest horror movie that you've seen.
Ooh.
Yeah. Good question. I wasn't prepared for.
I'll go with Antichrist.
It's a
I'll take
hard
the
one
easy-
to answer
easy one.
because it's so hard to decide what.
Yeah.
You know, there's different sort of genres of horror. You know, for me, like one of the ones that I thought was pretty scary was actually The Fourth Kind, which is more of an alien movie
Ooh,
than
yeah.
a horror movie. But I just kind of thought it was terrifying, the concept of like, oh man, what if that could actually happen to you? Like, and it's not so much the horror of what's happening, but the horror of like knowing nobody would believe you.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I like what you said too, Corey, about
I think
Antichrist.
something's happened here. I can't.
Uh-oh. What happened?
Hello?
Did we lose Adam? Well, while we're waiting for Adam to get back.
Yeah, you know what? But I don't think I've seen The Fourth Kind. I just realized that.
Oh, it's
I don't
pretty
think
good. It's so the setup is like this woman claims she was abducted by aliens, but then it's kind of like, you know, nobody believes her, but then like there might be evidence that she actually was, and it's just kind of, you know, it's that kind of movie where like something happened but nobody believes them.
Yeah. Well, that can be terrifying. That happens
Yeah.
to people throughout history. Actually, there's a
That
lot of
was
stories
weird.
of people.
I can hear you guys again.
Hello.
Sorry.
Oh, good.
Yeah, no one believes anything could happen until it does,
Yeah.
and then it's on display.
Yep.
Crazy before that.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, Antichrist is a good one just because there's so many images
God.
that just stick with you.
Talk about a movie that like wants to fuck you up.
Yeah, right. Kind of though, sticking with that the theme from The Fourth Kind of nobody believing you. That
Yeah.
they look like people. I think that
Oh yeah.
that kind of got to me, just like to be in that guy's shoes where like he feels like something's happening, and he like in the back of his mind he knows it's not true, but he can't quite
Hmm.
silence the thing that tells him it is true. And then like
Ooh.
the whole thing of like he feels like his best friend might be a monster that he has to kill, but he doesn't want to kill him because he thinks he might not be. It's like that kind of like dueling uh, thought processes, and that kind of like break from reality
Yeah.
is it's kind of like existentially scary to me.
Yeah, that's one of those one. That's creepy in concept because it's like you can imagine that happening to you, and like
Hmm.
there's
Yep.
also that fear of like if it was happening, you wouldn't really know it, you know? Like
Yeah,
that's the best kind of horror is not the it's not the stuff that's like tangible.
Yeah.
It's this, ethereal kind of,
It's true.
mystifying horror.
yeah.
Yeah. Did you guys see Session 9?
Ooh, yeah.
It sounds familiar.
Oh, I love that movie.
It's like it was filmed inside the Danvers like insane asylum before
Hmm.
it was torn down, I guess. And
Yeah.
it's about some guys that go in there to remove asbestos, and each of them sort of has some little bit of darkness in their past, and like starts to get into their mind while they're there. And so each of them sort of loses their mind in their own way, and it's really creepy.
Yeah.
It's kind of, they did that in what's that movie, the Cube or whatever, where
Oh,
it's
yeah.
collapsing in.
Oh, that's right.
I
Yeah.
like the Cube. The Cube was
Oh,
cool.
I haven't seen that one in a long time.
Weird psychological kind of sci-fi horror.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
got the same feel for me to watch that as oh man, what's the other one? Like Event Horizon, where it's just kind
Yeah.
of like
Yeah.
this descent into madness, and you just kind of feel that, grating on your brain.
You know, I always hear people talk shit about Event Horizon, but I saw that when, like, I must have been, 14, and I saw it late at night, probably 12:30
Yeah, me
showing
too.
in the theater, and me and my friend, we were scared shitless, like
Oh, yeah.
for
It's a
years.
scary movie, especially when you're
It is.
young.
Oh, yeah.
It's terrifying.
Yeah. I mean, it's got all of the right ingredients. Like
Yeah,
the mystery of like outer space and the void, and then like
Yeah.
the like religious terror of like hell coming into this
Yeah.
dimension and then going insane, which is like the body horror. I mean,
yeah,
it's almost like now it's kind of putting me in mind of the Hellraiser movies, which is like
it is.
strong body horror and the unknown and other dimensions and stuff.
Yep. Yeah, the Hellraiser movies, like, to me, they're at their best when they're like a little bit like subdued. Like the scenes where they're full metal are a little bit like too over the top for me. But
Yeah.
like the idea of it, and it worked for the time when they came out as well. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's messing with that twisted. Like, it's like you're living inside of a Tool album or something.
That's a good description. Yeah, I
Yeah,
like
it
that.
really is. It kind of paints a picture there. It's that whole thing. It always goes back to that sense of believability. Like, there's always that certain mystery where it's like, well, that's probably not true, but what if,
Yeah. Well, and then too, like when that movie came out, there was that toy catalog, that Johnson Smith catalog, that was like selling what was it called? Not They didn't call them puzzle boxes. The cube that, like, if you solved the cube, it summoned the Cenobites, and like Johnson Smith
Right.
catalog was selling little puzzle boxes of that cube. So it was awesome.
It's creepy.
Yeah. It'd be like if Blockbuster started carrying the VHS of just that video from The Ring.
Oh my god.
That would be great if you could like rent that from Netflix or Redbox.
You should be able to. That'd be awesome.
Oh man.
But nobody has VHS anymore, so.
Yeah, I know. That'd be. They need to up-res it to Blu-ray or something.
Yeah, it's not really having a resurgence like
Yeah.
vinyl.
Yeah.
Do you die in one day if you get to watch it in HD instead of 7 days on VHS?
That's a good question. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it works. I think it's on the tape. It's got to be on the tape.
It's the magnets
Analog.
in the tape.
It can't
Yeah.
be. Yeah, it can't be on the cloud.
Right. You can't stream it. You can't stream it to your phone.
That's an interesting idea of like the whole possessed objects kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think they're doing a new movie that's coming out soon where it's about a doll that gets possessed, or I'm not sure if it's possessed or if they put the spirit of like their dead child in there.
Annabelle.
Oh yeah, Annabelle.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's creepy
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. I saw the prequel recently, and that was pretty good. I enjoyed it. It's not like strong horror, but I mean, it
That's
was
another one
fun.
though that's creepy because there's a real Annabelle doll in it.
Yeah.
It supposedly is actually possessed. I wouldn't keep it in my fucking house. I can tell you that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
The whole
Like,
connection to Ed and Lorraine Warren, the demonologists. who
Yeah.
Yeah.
captured it and everything. So I don't know. It's spooky.
I mean,
I'll go on.
I can claim to believe whatever I want, but there's places on the earth that definitely creep me out still.
Oh,
like
yeah,
objects
yeah.
like that, they do seem to have the ability to bring with them some sort of, at least like darkness. Like I don't know if it's like if it's actually tangible, but you feel something.
Yeah. Yeah.
What? And it's like, well, is it that you're feeling something because there is something, or you're feeling something because you're imagining it? And does it matter? Like,
Yeah.
do you have that capacity to sort of manifest your own terror? I mean, if you experience it, it's real.
Yeah.
Well, I think we do. Like some of the times, because I thought I saw something and I didn't actually see anything. And like I remember a few times in my house, like just some shadow or something like that in the middle of the night, and I could have sworn somebody was standing there looking at me.
Yeah.
And I assume they weren't. But terrifying.
Yeah. Have either of you guys, just kind of like going back to like the Ring thing, have either of you guys read the book Bird Box?
No.
Oh, it's this great horror book about so like this thing comes to Earth, and whenever people look at it, it drives them like homicidally or suicidally insane. But the thing is, nobody knows what it is because nobody who sees it survives.
You can't look at it.
Yeah, so it's created this like society of like people who are like living in their houses with like blackout curtains everywhere, and like when they go outside to get water, they go outside with their eyes closed. But that kind of like made me think of like we were talking about The Ring and other movies like that, and like if it's like a pattern of like a pattern of light that drives you crazy, or not like a ghost. So maybe you could stream the Ring video because it's the same pattern of lights.
Maybe.
Or like that.
Well, it's like it's been shown scientifically that certain sounds can cause like a disturbing feeling in people, like these really low bass sounds. And you have to wonder if some of these places where just like bad shits happen have had like just some weird drone that maybe you can't hear, but it's still affecting you, and you're just like slowly driving people mad.
It could happen. I mean, you've heard even over the past few weeks, there's supposedly some like sonic attacks going on at the embassy in Cuba.
Cuba.
Yeah, and then like I've personally experimented with like binaural audio, and it can cause full-on hallucinations. Like that stuff is insane. Like dude, you got to be careful with that.
That's given me like some weird, fucked up nightmares. Just like like my roommate did that once or twice, and like after he did it a couple times, he's like, "Man, I'm never doing that again." It
starts to make you feel uncomfortable about what you like sort of the foundation that you have within you about what's real and what's not. Like when that starts to be questioned like on a tangible basis, it fucks with you, dude.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting too. Like it makes you wonder about places that are supposedly haunted or possessed or whatever. Like, is there some kind of weird, convergence of these effects at that location that's causing hallucinations or some other like weird experiences for people?
Yeah. This is horrible, but it was really interesting this week. Did you see that the parents of the North Korean prisoner that was released and died came out and spoke about his condition when he came back.
No, I didn't.
I saw that they were talking about some stuff.
Yeah, well, the thing that like I knew the general story, but the thing that brought me back into reading about it was apparently when they got him off the plane, the parents showed up and they didn't know what condition he would be in, which is horrible.
Yeah.
But they could just hear this strange otherworldly howl, and they couldn't figure out what it was. When they got on the plane, they realized it was him.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so he was in this state of waking unconsciousness, just making this unhuman sound.
Wow.
And yeah, and then he passed away like a day and a half later, and it's
wow.
That shit kept me up a couple nights.
That's yeah.
Like what he was experiencing, and that whole idea of like sleep paralysis and stuff is
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have ever experienced that, but
yeah, I have. It's
wonder what's going on.
yeah. I've experienced that like during an operation where like I woke up and I couldn't move. I couldn't move, but I was awake. It's like there's really strange sort of connections between our conscious and our subconscious states.
Yeah. Man, that's like my biggest fears about having surgery, is that you're having like the anesthesia wears off just enough to wake you up, but like yeah. Ugh.
It happens too. That's the really scary thing, is that it does happen.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things too that like like in the front of your brain that like it doesn't happen that often. Just like flying on a plane, planes don't crash that often. But then the back of your brain is like, yeah, but so what? It has happened,
Yeah. Well, I think like some people have a tendency towards, because like it happened twice, and then now when I talk to the doctor about it ahead of time, they're like, okay, we can make sure this doesn't happen.
Oh, that's good.
But certain people, I think, have a tendency to just like wake up. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I guess that's why anesthesiologists get paid a shitload of money.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I'm glad they do.
Yeah.
Some poor kid was he had like he'd gone into a coma or something, and he ended up going to the state where like after a couple months or a couple years but he was completely incapable of communicating with the outside world. Like he wasn't able to let anybody know that he was conscious, and they would set him like in front of the TV and put Barney on all fucking day, and like he would have to sit there and just like bear through that, like and for years and years of his life he was spent like just nobody knew he was awake. Like his mom one time came in and was like, why don't you just fucking die, like basically.
Oh my god.
And like obviously she didn't know he was conscious, but he experienced that.
Yeah.
That's just terrifying. And eventually he came out of it, but it took I think it took something like 14 years or something like that. So
I read a story about a guy who was in a coma for like 15 years like that, and he described the what he felt while he was in a coma. He felt like he was under the earth, and he could see roots and just like basically earth and growing roots around him. He was just so deep in the earth that he wasn't really himself. He didn't feel like, but that's where he was, and he could see things like growing through his field of vision and growing through him. And then all of a sudden, he said that he was just like everything turned white, and he was in a valley, like in this big river valley, and he was flying. And then he flew for like a while, and then all of a sudden he woke up.
Wow.
Yeah, and then he was back.
It makes me wonder if there's hallucination going on there, because like that end up going blind. A lot of them report hallucinating, visual hallucinations.
Yeah.
So I wonder if just like the absence of any kind of like being able to experience reality if your brain
Yeah.
just sort of creates its own reality for you to experience. You
Yeah,
know?
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of
Totally.
like the idea behind sensory isolation, isn't it? It just kind of you have nothing, you don't give your brain any
Right.
external stimuli, and it just kind of creates its own.
Yeah, you just
Yeah.
start having these weird hallucinations and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's pretty terrifying. Like,
yeah,
I was from the prisoners who were locked in the dark for months and months, and all the crazy experiences they had. It's
oh
really,
yeah,
really scary.
yeah, yeah, man. Um, all right. Yeah. Uh, before we go, Corey, you had something you wanted to promote, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I'm from Tangent Games, and we were formerly Tangentlemen. And last year, we released a game called Here They Lie on the PlayStation, and it's out on PlayStation VR and also on the regular PlayStation Network. So if you get on that store, there's some specials going on this month, but it's a creepy game, and I'd love to hear your feedback if you get a chance to try it.
Cool. Yeah, actually, I played a little bit today because
Oh, cool.
I bought it I bought it pretty quickly after our first interview, and then
Yeah.
today I was like, oh man, I'm talking to Corey again today. I should play a little bit of it.
I appreciate it.
So I played like 10 minutes, and it was like in the middle of the day, and I'm like, all right, I gotta stop because this needs to be played like at night with the lights off,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
I might want to do a let's play of it. So
Awesome. Yeah, it's definitely something to play like in a dark room with some decent sound, either like surround sound or headphones, because we're playing with the feeling of, people or entities being nearby you, and the sound is like a big part of that. And so yeah, I hope you get a chance to play it. And
So that is in VR.
it's in VR and also on, like, we released it first in VR, and then it came out on the PlayStation, the regular PlayStation.
That sounds
a few
horrible.
months later.
That sounds so scary. I would be shitting my pants.
But yeah, it's sort of in the zone of some of the stuff we've been talking about today, and
Yeah.
so I hope you like it.
I could definitely feel the oh god, the name just slipped my mind. The Jacob's Ladder influence in the beginning.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jacob's Ladder's one of my favorites as well. That's a good mention for the Halloween season too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. Here's an idea I didn't think of until just now. Before we go, you guys each want to recommend a few movies our listeners should check out this month for the Halloween October theme.
Sure.
Adam, you want to go first?
Well, if you haven't seen it, I recommend The Descent. Is a great horror movie.
Oh, there you go.
It appeals to a wide audience because it's got good horror elements and it's also got good, violence and the generally kind of creepy storyline. If you watch it though, try and find the UK release, the American release. The ending is a little bit better.
Okay.
Cool.
Good to know. Corey?
Yeah, actually, I would recommend Tideland if you haven't seen that. That's one of Terry Gilliam's films.
Okay.
And a lot of people, for some reason, when it came out, a lot of people didn't hear about it. So that one, I think, is a really well-made film, and it's creepy, and it takes place like in this sort of haunted farm town, and it's really well made. That one, and then I mentioned Session 9 earlier. It's a great movie to watch around the Halloween season. Another one I'd recommend is Funny Games and Funny Games US. Both of those are some of my favorites.
You know what's weird about that? I wanted to watch both versions of Funny Games for the show. I can't find the original one anywhere. Like, it's not on Netflix or Amazon or anything.
Oh, I've got a copy of it from a long time ago, but yeah, they maybe haven't done like a re-release of it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But Funny Games US is a great movie as well.
Cool. Funny Games. All right, Adam, did you have another one? I think I might have interrupted you.
I can't think of any great movies off the top of my head. I will say, if you're into horror, check out No Sleep Podcast is really really good.
Nice.
They do retellings of creepypastas and stuff like that.
Yep.
So that's a great thing to check out. And if you're looking for some real in quotations, real stories, check out Mysterious Universe podcast, which is, great. They go through a lot of different paranormal stuff. It's not all ghosts and horror, but some of it's pretty creepy, black-eyed kids, that kind of stuff. So, if you're into that,
Sounds good.
Nice. Cool. So my recommendations would be a little bit different than the other ones. If you're just looking for a good, super slow burn ghost story, Netflix has a movie called I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House. It's definitely not for everybody because it's super slow and like super quiet. But
that sounds terrifying.
It feels like an old-fashioned ghost story. It's not like jump scares. It's just kind of about a haunted house and a ghost.
Say the title again. I am
the pretty thing that lives in the house.
Okay.
It's
all right. I'll
super
check it out.
slow and super quiet, but it's I really liked it.
Awesome.
I would also recommend The Innkeepers, which is another kind of like haunted mansion, or not haunted mansion, haunted hotel kind of movie, but it's got some good characters and it's kind of funny. And then It Follows, which is like, it's that movie about there's like it's like a sexually transmitted haunting, I guess. And it's even with that setup, it still manages not to have ridiculous amounts of gratuitous sex and be a fantastic,
the fun in that
creepy horror movie. Right.
That was a good one, dude. That was a great movie.
Yeah. So those would be my recommendations for the month of October.
Oh,
awesome.
If you're into audiobooks too, but you could get the regular book if you wanted. But Scott Sigler has a book called Nocturnal, and it used to be free for the audiobook, which he actually reads himself, and really good. It's like a crime noir horror movie.
Okay. Cool.
That sounds awesome.
All right. Cool. Well, I'm gonna end it there. Thanks for being on, guys. Always appreciate it. It's been fun.
No problem. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, you both are welcome back anytime. Adam's going to go have nightmares. Nice. For our listeners, thanks for listening. If you like this podcast, please like and subscribe. You'll be notified when we upload the next one. Good night, everyone. Sweet dreams. No, I was trying to think of a scary ending. Happy
nightmares.
Happy nightmares. Happy nightmares.
Happy nightmares.
There we go.